People, we are getting ever closer to Conor Benn, Chris Eubank Jr. too, and I think that face-off really did go a long way in getting the hype a little bit more for it, because again, the more people I talk to, just even casuals who would be obviously keen on this fight. Oh, it's next weekend? What? Yes, next weekend. I'd no idea. It really has fallen under the radar. I don't know what it is. Is it because it's come in the kind of in between Joseph Parker plus Joseph Parker Wardley, which was a big heavyweight fight, plus the November 22nd card, which everyone is talking about? Is it because it's kind of come in between that? And maybe given the fact that, thank God it's off, because look, would I have done videos on it had it gone ahead? I know we talk about Tank Davis versus Jake Paul. Yes, I would have. But does that mean I necessarily liked the fight? No. I mean, I didn't like the fight between Ngannou Fury. I did videos on it, I covered them. But I think that was maybe not on the forefront of people's minds, but because it was on the Friday, people were talking about it. You had the weight difference and stuff like that. So that's gone now. That's canned, right? That is what that is. But with Chris Eubank Jr., Conor Benn next weekend. And Conor Benn released a picture on his Instagram story, and this got my mind racing when I seen it, because Conor Benn is sparring. Well, he's not shown footage of him sparring. It just says 12 rounds. So he's sparred 12 rounds. Okay. And look, plenty of fighters in camp and they're up to a fight, and you would imagine he'd be winding down sparring probably today or tomorrow. You'd imagine roughly the week before fight week they wind the sparring down. So that's fine. That's A-okay. He looks big, I will say that. He looks like he's packed on a little bit of size, so he's a decent, very good shape. Conor Benn is really put a lot of weight on the legs. You can see the muscle definition there. Okay. He's sparring Troy Williamson. Now, alarm bell started ringing when I saw that. Why would alarm bell start ringing with me? Well, as many of you will know, Chris Eubank Jr. is managed by Napper. We know who Napper is. He's a well-known manager, UK-based, but he lives out in the Middle East now. One of his fighters is Troy Williamson. Is that not like a bit of a red flag if you're Team Benn, that like, oh yeah, this guy's manager is desperate for me to lose. He desperately wants Chris Eubank Jr. to win, and I'm sparring one of his fighters. Do you really? I would be on the, if I was Troy Williamson or someone in his team, I'd be like, get on the phone to Napper now and say, how did the spar go? Well, this is what it is. This is what's going. Surely Ben must know that. Or someone in Team Benn must know that. Whether it be Conor. Look, I don't expect Conor Benn. I'm not saying this to knock him or anything like that. But I wouldn't imagine most fighters would know really who manages. Maybe they'd know who manages. Like Alexander Usyk, we know, Lipin and, Igis Klimas, stuff like that. We know about that. Eddie Hearn, Anthony Joshua, people like that. Yeah, for the big time fighters. But Troy Williamson, who's a domestic level fighter, you probably wouldn't think like, oh yeah, who's his manager again? Oh, I'm not even thinking. So I don't expect Conor Benn to know. But would Tony Sims not know? Would Eddie Hearn not know? Because if you're sparring a guy who's managed by the guy you're fighting next, surely, in theory, would that not mean then that like he's telling him stuff that's going on in the spar? Or, counterintuitively, and again, this is me just thinking outside the box here, maybe Team Benn do know. Troy Williamson is a big guy. He's a good fighter, Troy Williamson. He really is. He's a good fighter, big puncher. He's a big guy. So you're in there with a super middleweight, which Eubank Jr. really is. Would they maybe deliberately do some things different? Would Conor Benn maybe try and do things in sparring and make maybe Troy Williamson believe that's what he's doing in camp, or that's how he's going to come out against Chris Eubank Jr. for him to then say, oh, he was doing this as misdirection? Again, I asked the question because when I seen this, I just looked at it and thought, that's strange, because it would be like, and I know that, I suppose this is probably a bad analogy, maybe it's not the right analogy to use, but it would be like a member of, say, Team Fury. Let's say Tyson Fury is getting ready to, I'm just trying to think of a heavyweight who's mates with AJ or someone like that. Or hypothetically, let's just say this, right? Let's just say Tyson Fury is getting ready to spar Anthony Joshua, right? And he decides to bring in whoever, right? But then Anthony Joshua decides to bring in Joseph Parker. I know obviously he's nothing like Tyson Fury, but do you not think he'd know a few things about what's going on? You know that sort of way? where you're kind of looking and thinking, all right, well, he's very much, maybe not in Team Eubank, but he's, certainly got associates who are. Is that not a little bit something you'd really want to be doing? I'm just asking the question here. In terms of actual sparring for Conor Benn, again, I said Troy Williamson's a very, very good fighter. He, I think, has fallen short a little bit, and I genuinely thought he would have to beat the Josh Kelly when they fought a couple of years ago. Remember his fight with Ted Cheeseman? That was phenomenal. The knockout was savage. Ted Cheeseman's never fought again, I don't believe, since then. So I'm not knocking Troy Williamson. He's a very, very good fighter. But when I seen it, I was just like, okay, that's a little bit strange, just for that reason. And again, I know that. And all you have to do, you go on BoxRec, and I think it'll show that. But I'm like, surely, if I know that, surely someone in Team Ben would. I'm just saying. It could be nothing. And maybe it's not that deep. But I did just find it very strange when I seen that. When I seen that pick going around, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below on that. If you could, people, I hope you enjoyed the video. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already, as always. And until next time, people, I'll leave it there. Have a great one. Peace.